We are starting just now. Hello, hello. We had a little interesting. I'm getting used to it. You'd think I'd have it down by now, but we got the sound working for both of us, and we're recording. Last time we turned him down just a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, Kurt, I thought so. I did turn him down a little bit. And feel free to put in chat if he's still a little loud. I turned him down a little bit, not a lot. Okay, so we are here today to, let's see, I want to get back to my main screen, right? Here we go. So we're on ZENcast Live. It's Anything ZENcast. We are talking today about ZCM 2020 Update 2. Oh, not anti-malware. This is, oh boy, I missed that one. This is Customer Insights. Enhance. Sorry, Vikram. Let's do this one more time. We're going to go ahead and go into read mode. We're going to step out so we start clean. Take two, right? Hello, everybody. We're back. Paul Pedron here, product manager at ZENworks Service Desk, and today we are talking about ZCM 2020 Update 2, Customer Enhancements. We're going to have a presenter today, Vikram Goyal, who's product manager of ZENworks. He's going to talk a little bit about the enhancements you, the customer, have put into the product. Reminder: next ZENcast, July 6th, there'll be no stream. I'll be on holiday. But July 20th, we have the MX Connect with guest Ed Gavin. He was product manager of Connect, Backup, and MX Connect, and you've heard about all the ransomware and stuff. This product really helps you there. We're going to go ahead and move forward here. We're going to do a little bit of house cleaning. First off, ZENcast happens first and third Tuesday of each month, 9 o'clock. You can find the recordings at these links here. I'm going to go ahead and see if my command works so that you can get the this particular slide deck. Little housekeeping: log into chat so you can join the conversation. @ direct message will direct message the person that you put their name in so that they get a highlight. It makes it a little bit easier to follow the conversations. The exclamation commands are some commands where you can get links and so forth. Subscribe, notifications, and comments afterwards. You can subscribe now, but notifications and comments, please put them in afterwards in the recording, and I'd be happy to either answer any questions that we missed, or if you had any comments and things to improve the ZENcast. Also, set your autoplay off, and then your quality to 720p60 would give you the best viewing ability here. Link to this presentation. I'm going to do this because I didn't see it come up. I'm going to grab this link and put it in here so that you have it. There it is. Okay, so that you have that particular link to this presentation. So you can download it now, follow along, or download it later. That way you have links to all the links in the presentation to reference later. And then, of course, we're on the Micro Focus Support and Training YouTube channel. You can find all the past recordings there as well. Some upcoming highlights is no stream beginning of next month. The 20th, we will have MX Connect with Ed Gavin. And then we have part 2 of that ZCM imaging we started back in, I think, May. This is part 2 with Moises Morales. He'll be covering some WinPE. And then we're going to do the ZCM 2020 update and install. And then we have other things coming down the line. So feel free to look at that ZENcast schedule and chime in when you're available and come in on those conversations. We are also the Micro Focus portal. Here's some interesting links and so forth that you can go to if you're still trying to navigate or get to your software or your patches or licenses. There's some videos out there. There's a TID out there. Most important is report discrepancies too down here at the bottom. If you're in those areas and you're still having problems, please contact them. They'll help you get you started. Okay. Let's cover a couple of the products now. The ZCM Suite 2020 Update 1 is a current version. 2020 update 2 is in Lighthouse, which means it's in selected customers' production environments to make sure production is working properly. If you ever want to be a Lighthouse customer, I think it's a great advantage, not just to see how the product comes, but you have direct contact with the developers also, and of course the betas as well. Remember that ZCM 2017 extended support expired April 30th, okay? And also the OWS suite, extension for OWS suite, actually gives you the full complement of the ZENworks suite if you have OWS. So remember that that's there. Talk to your rep if you're having an issue or you want to get the supplement of the ZENworks configuration suite and you own OWS. Again, ZCM is on 2020 update 1. The PRU is out for June. And imaging driver updates, May 2021, they did distribute them. So make sure you check your SLD portal for that. And ZCM Mobile, there's a couple of TIDs there in case you're having some issues. They're kind of past a couple of months, but in case you haven't gotten to them, there they are there regarding the iOS APM and then the Apple VPP. ZAM, getting different things from Gartner. There's just one of the articles here about how asset management was addressed and what customers had to say, and that's in the Gartner review. Remember ZMM, the mobile management, the legacy, the old one, support ended December 31st, 2020. So if you're still on ZMM and need to get to ZCM mobile management, please give us a call. There's a few things to do to get to that point, but we are no longer supporting ZMM. It's a legacy product. Okay. ZPM Tuesday's highlights been updated, so we have the Tuesday highlights for either May or June. I don't know if June is out yet. Oh, June is out. Okay. The nice thing about these is Darren puts it out, and depending on what you're updating, the different products or OSs, it gives you some details about those particular products or OSs that you might be aware of if you're going to be doing some patching. Okay, and there is a patch management course 250 out there, so that's good to follow through and take. And I honestly can't remember. I think you get a badge for that one. Okay, so I think it's a certification. ZRS current version is 7.2, Jasper Studio 7.3.1. Appliance online update security patches are in May and August. Remember, they're doing every 3-month cadence. So for any appliance, double check regularly every 3 months for those security patches, whether it's ZRS, ZCM, ZSD. Okay, and then the future release of ZRS 7.8 will be released with ZCM 2020 Update 2. ZSD, we're currently on 8.2.1, and again, we had in May our security patch update. We'll have another one in August, but be aware that there's some 8.2.1 details, what's new. You can go to these links here to see what's new. It was released in April. It was a nice add to the technical technician portal, and there's some good details about. Looks like I get the link to the general page. So there's a what's new. You can go out to what's new on the ZSD product documentation. And then the security patch update is up there. Customization cookbook, TID 7025033 if you're doing customizations of your service desk, whether you're changing colors to branding to removing or adding things for the look appeal. Double check that TID out. And there's a couple of upgrade video tutorials and of course the cookbook as well if you're upgrading. Micro Focus desktop containers. This year 21.3 is the latest one out. If you have 21.3 or if you've been coming along with desktop containers, you'll see the improvements to the at-home workers being able to do LTI and being able to publish native install apps. So There's a couple of links in here about that Jason had as a presentation, and then the ZENcast Live we did as we went through it. There is a partner training course L320 coming soon. So if you're a partner out there, be aware that that's coming up, and look for that particular training. A shout out to Filer. Robin Redgrave does a similar thing once a month. It's robin.redgrave@microfocus.com, but he does it for the Filer. Anybody with Filer, for customers that have Filer. And there is a Filer technical webinar coming June 17th. Okay, at 1500, it's UK time. So just be aware that if you register for that, you can actually see that technical webinar. So I want to shout that out for the Filer users out there. On the partner page, pre-sale certification for L300 training is out there. And then the IM&G Connected MX is going strong. We're going to have some articles about that for the partner and pre-sales. SE Corner, I want to say Bob and Todd did a great job on doing the 5 killers of your data security and how to fix them. So if you haven't seen that particular presentation, go on out there and check that link out. It's a good call out. Events and recordings, TTP USA 2021. Normally held in Provo, but this year obviously it's going to be a virtual conference. It's from July 12th through 16th at 10 to 5:15. We will have a couple of ZENworks presentations on that as well. I know they're covering Connect and MX if you want to know more about that. Desktop containers, Service Desk, and ZENworks 2020. Some of the webinars that we had, the recent ZENcast was the anti-malware, which was the last time with Darren. We have that posted here in the links in this presentation, as well as there's a webinar, what's a new webinar, that they just did in the UK. So if you're a UK customer or any customer, you could see what they're talking about 2020 Update 2. Again, there's a webinar index here to be able to see past webinars, and then you could view the on-demand sessions from Micro Focus Realize 2021, which was an Asia Pacific type conference. Okay. Some articles. Mentioned this last time. IDC Marketplace names Micro Focus a major player for unified endpoint management. This is a big good news for unified endpoint management and Micro Focus. And then if you want to let other professionals know about how good ZENworks is, you can click this link here. Also, if you look at the Z News in ZCC on the ZENworks Configuration Management, you'll also see the link there on let people know how great ZENworks is. It's a small survey you take and tell them what you like about ZENworks. And then we have the ZENcast progress survey. Recent articles, Open Horizons articles from product managers, the at-home workers, from Darren, from Vikram, who talked about modern management of Windows 10 devices, and then also announcing the anti-malware from Darren. So we have the ZENcasters. This is upcoming. It's a great push to see what actually our product does with anti-malware. ZENworks communities. Again, we moved. We have a get started spot in the portal, the community portal, and there's some details there if you want to get involved and actually put out discussions or blogs or tips and information, or even just the ideas, right? Putting ideas into the product, very important. And Windows in-place upgrade may remove. Didn't want to do that. Didn't take. There we go. In-place upgrade may remove. There's an article out there from Craig. ZENworks network providers. There's an automated repair out there, but if you're experiencing that, just wanted to shout out that particular community article. Okay. A little bit of recap on what we did last time. ZCM 2020 Update 2. Darren came in and talked a little bit about the anti-malware, showed different dashboards and the product pretty intimately, different policies and so forth, and the process going through. He actually demoed it, so it was a real good. If you haven't seen it, It's in the links here, and you can also go on the support and training website and see the last ZENcast. Okay. Um, and finally, we're going to go ahead and introduce Vikram Goyal and his discussion and demo of ZCM 2020 Update 2 Customer Ideas and Enhancements. So Vikram, we have you on board here. I think we got your sound and everything worked out.
Hey Paul, how are you doing?
Doing well. And again, let me know if that's a little loud. We'll tone it down. But Vikram, I'm glad you're on. I want to say thank you for coming on again. We had you on 2 times ago, and we had an outage, and so that didn't work out well. Even though we continued through the full hour, nobody
Yeah,
else
we
was
did.
listening. And now I have
Second
back.
time is a charm.
It's exactly. And now we have recording on top of this so that in case we do lose, we could still publish it. So we can go forward all the way with this one.
Good.
So I appreciate your time and coming out here. And we're going to switch over to yours. Let me bring this over here and expand it fully. And you can share your screen if you wish.
Okay, let's start this.
There we go.
Can you see the screen?
We can see the screen.
Okay, great. So welcome everyone. Today I'm going to, in past couple of months or 3 months or so, right? Paul has got a lot of speakers and he has got you an introduction to a lot of the things which are coming in ZENworks 2020 update 2. So today, the second time around, I'm going to talk about some of the customer ideas which we are bringing in ZENworks 2020 update 2. So these ideas are something which, as you're shortly going to see, you have been asking for quite some time, and unfortunately, we were not able to get them. So though we had liked them to get them earlier, but I believe now is always a good time to get them in. So let's get started with it. So as you can see on the screen, there are quite a list of the ideas which we have on board and which are coming in as part of ZENworks 2020 update 2. But in the interest of time today, I'm going to limit myself to few of them. So let's start with something, one of the top ideas on the ZCM Ideas Exchange itself. So let's see what it is. So this is a chat client with remote management in ZCM. So this is something which I'm sure that whoever has been using the remote management capability in ZENworks would have actually faced that there's really no direct way to communicate back with the end user. I mean, typically quite a few of you may have actually resorted to writing things on a notepad, and that can work out to quite a good extent, but obviously you don't really have any way to audit such things or to keep track of it, and obviously it's not really very professional, and at the worst it's very cumbersome. So that's actually a request back from you, and it came in a long time back, and over a period of time it became the one of the, I think it was the topmost idea on the ZCM Ideas Exchange at some point of the time. At some point of the time, it got replaced by some another one, but yeah, it's remained there for a long time. And I'm happy to say that this is something which we are now able to get it in as part of ZENworks 2020 update 2. So let's take a quick demo and see how it works. So I will go on to my server. So this is my local server which I'm running, and let's log in onto this. So just to show you what we have over here so this is an update to zone. I'm running not the Lighthouse build, which Paul talked about. It's slightly older build, but the functionality still remains the same. So we have a workstation over here, right? And that's what it is. So now, let's say we want to remote control it. And on the other hand, yeah, before I go over there, let me see if this workstation is actually up and running or not. So this is my VMware workstation environment, and come up. So this is it. Let me see. Yeah, Bruce Willis actually used this device.
Nice.
So there, and let me see, ZENworks agent is actually running. And come on, yeah, it is there. Cool. So let's go back onto the workstation and let's just try to remote control it. Go over there. So that's a device IP. It will go over there and we just click on the OK. The CCC helper will come up, and sometimes, as all of you know, it can definitely take a while. So it went through. So it says over here, waiting for the user to accept the request. So at this point at the time, I will switch over to my okay. And it says request for permission, and I'm sorry, I'm just clicking too fast for my own benefit. Okay, so here we are. So we'll gladly say yes, and we get to the node visible controls over there. And what do you see? We have a new icon over here. So that's, it says chat with remote operator. So, and so this is a end user, right? So I will say, hi, I am end user. What's up? Can you please help me? Good. So now let's go back to our side of the things, and we have my remote control over here. Hey, I got this thing. So in case I, as an end user administrator, wants to initiate this thing, I'll go ahead and close it. I'll click over here. That's my toolbar, and I'll get that message. So I can also initiate the app. Okay. So far, so good. But this is just not what we introduced as part of ZENworks 2020 update 2. We have also got one cool new feature, which is remote recording. So I believe you can actually see this particular icon, which we have over here.
Yes.
Right. So if I, as an administrator, wants to record the session, I just go ahead and starts the recording. So it gives a notification. So if I switch back to my end user side of the things, so I, as an end user, will get to see that the session is being recorded. So there's no really hidden recording which is actually happening. So that kind of the visibility is available. Okay, so just as a note, and I'll go into the details as to later bit in another 5 or 10 minutes or so, that why this is so. But the remote recording capability, what you are just see over here, is experimental in nature. But the remote chat is not. That's fully featured. Okay, so if I just want to chat again, hi again, no response. So if you see, this actually shows you as you. Again, I will go back to my remote control part. Oh, sorry. Okay, that's my chat. And I'll say, hey, don't worry. Okay, so if you notice over here, so what I as an administrator is actually seeing is the name of the device from which the session is coming in, and I'm actually appearing as a U. But if I go back to my console, I'll come back here as an administrator. So hey, that's what. So simple thing. So you can exchange messages. We haven't really tried to bring in lots of font support or those or the emojis or something. So that may actually happen later down the line. But while getting it in, what we actually focused on is getting the basics right so that the communication is actually happening. So if some of you are actually interested as to how this is actually happening, so what we are doing is that this chat client is not really making use of some other third-party client. So this is actually built into the remote control product itself. So the way it is happening is that the data which you see as a chat, so that is actually getting transferred along with the, say, the remote control data, which is being sent from the device back to the server and back forth. So we are just embedding some more data in that same bit stream, and we are managing to capture it and showing it in this particular chat box, chat dialog box. So pretty simple, but pretty powerful. The good thing is that if there are multiple administrators who are logging in, so they can also join this particular session. So if I'm a second administrator and I want to remote control, let's say the first administrator called me and that, okay, hey, I need help with this, and the second administrator joined in. So if he wants to chat with it, so from his console, he can just click on the chat dialog and he can just go ahead and join the chat, and he will appear as a second administrator over here, and so on and so forth. So this works pretty good in that respect. And there obviously, yeah. So one thing to note is that at this point in the time, let me just take you through this. Some of the caveats what we have on the it is on a, I'm sorry, I should have done this thing earlier, but this should be somewhere chat document in this documentation, or maybe I actually have, yeah, it's there. So that's a launching the chat. So this is our beta documentation, which I'm just going to show you, and I'm just going to confirm a location, and that's the reason I'm actually coming in. So this chat logs right now, the way what it actually happens is that we are not really storing it in a centralized place. So these chat logs, what we do is that they are actually getting stored on the local machine itself from which the chat is actually happening. So if you actually go to something like an app data roaming novel and on your machine itself, you will actually get to see this chat logs. And maybe I'll open it up and try to see. I have this. Give me 1 second, guys. I have this path in a much better way here. So I'll be able to show you. So if I go to my Explorer, right, so this is where I'm actually now, there's a new file over there, and that's where right now we are going to store the chat. So this is something which is right now being stored on this on this device in this release, and that's essentially your audit, right? That what has actually happened during a chat session. So as we go forward, what we will be doing is that we'll be taking this data and moving over to some centralized location. So so it is more preserved, and it cannot get lost even by an accident if needed to be. So that's something what we will be doing. So that's still a little bit of a limitation on the chat client, but we thought it fit that, okay, hey, this doesn't really mean that we actually have to not release this thing to you guys. So we said, okay, yeah, let's go ahead.
Well, we
So auditing is not.
we have a paper
Yeah.
trail, which is really important for discussions like this when
Right.
you're working on a device. Sure.
Right. So, and that's for purpose, right? So, we wanted to make sure that it actually gets saved in a centralized location, so there are no really accidents, and that's other than codes where this paper really gets lost.
Exactly.
Or something. So, yeah, but that's something which is not there in the update too, but we will be getting it in the next release of the ZENworks. The team is already actually working on making that happen.
That's exciting.
So, yeah, so that's the ZENworks chat for you. And we'll just let this recording go in progress, and then we'll go back and switch and talk more about what ZENworks recording is. So as you see, so that's the way to record a remote control session. And we do understand that not everybody may be interested in recording it, and you may not want to give this capability to all the administrators. Maybe there are some administrators whom you don't really want to give the right to really record a remote control session, or maybe you don't really want to give that right. You don't really want to record for some specific set of the users or the devices. So what we have actually done is that we have added another setting within our remote control policy, remote management policy. And if you go over here, this is a new setting which is there, which is now allow recording of the remote management session. So if this is not allowed, if this is not checked, then the icon Come on. Right? So this icon won't be, it would be there, but it would be gray out and you can't really click on it. Only when this is actually applied, so it's available. So in this case, what I've actually done is that I've actually assigned this to the workstations, and that's a reason that I can actually, while doing this thing. So let's say if you are actually trying to remote control a user whose device may actually have sensitive data, and you don't really want any kind of the scenario in which that data can be exposed even by the virtue of the recording or anything. So maybe you can leave those devices out of there at all. Okay, so that's the control on the remote recording is. Now, let's come back to the part that why this remote control is experimental in nature. One is that I don't really have a very good pause and start kind of the controls over here. So if I do this thing, most likely this recording will stop over here and the new recording will come into the play. So I'll just go over there and the recording stop. Okay, so the pause they did manage to bring it in. So that's a revelation. That's a good thing, right, Paul? When something you know never was not supposed to make it, and then it does makes it.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
So we'll. So now what actually happens is that this is again what we are right now doing as a part of the recording. It's we're just capturing all this data stream which is coming in, and then we're just storing it in a specific tight VNC format, and that's essentially the underlying engine which we use for the remote control. So at this point of the time, what I will do is I'll turn over to my documentation, and just like the chat, so right now also these recordings are also stored in your local folder. So if I go to the remote management bin location, so we have now another folder called session recordings, and that's where these recordings are stored. So I just got a file which is right now 0 KB because my session is still going on. So for the sake of the further demo, what I will do is I will go ahead and terminate the session. Great. At this point in time, if you see,
And you
file
can
just.
see the last ZENcast there too on the 18th when we tested
Oh, yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is there. It is definitely there. Right. So now the bad thing about this is that there's not really a very straightforward way to play this recording. And secondly, this recording is again just like the chat being stored on your local machine. So that's not really a very secure place. And we would definitely like it to be stored in a central place where it can be distributed. If you want, you maybe going forward, you can even attach your services ticket or so and so forth. So if it can, so we want to create a paper trail around it, and we want to make sure that it is actually easily accessible and available to whoever actually may want to use this particular recording. So let's say if there's another remote administrator who wants to see, okay, hey, what was done in the previous session, they should not really need to hunt around and, okay, hey, where that recording is, hey, that's lying on that particular user's machine, or what can we do? So we want to obviously get it centralized. So that's one of the two main reasons. So the format which is coming, this recording is right now being stored is a proprietary format. It is a .fps file. So what we have done is that in our documentation, we have provided a way where how you can actually view these recordings. And that's just a little bit roundabout way, but I'm anyway going to show you how this can work out. And that's actually principally the reason that why this is still in experimental stage and not in going forward. What we want to do is that we want to get into say a standard format like MP4 and store it in a central place. So it becomes easier to easily accessible and easy enough to view in any kind of the player. Okay, so let's take a quick check as to how we can play this recording. Okay, what we need to do is first we need to go to this, download this particular RFP player. from the type ANC side. So in the interest of the time, I have actually gone ahead and downloaded this thing. So it's just like a jar file. And what has happened is this is the jar file, and that's where it actually goes and gets stored. Okay, so I will go to the command line, try to see, and I'm there. The next thing is that I need to run this file, so I need to give out a path. So when earlier today I was actually trying to run the scenario through, I found that there's some challenges with the path it was taking, and I'm not still sure that whether that's something by design or that was just me, but I was finding that spaces between the, say something like a folder name or something, it was not really working out well, and this particular player was not able to really recognize the file. So what I actually ended up doing was just taking the file and copying it locally. So so what I'm going to do is, so this is the latest file which we just had, and I'll take a copy of it and I'll copy it over here. And again, ZENcast, and I'll rename it. So somehow the .fps is actually needed. Extension seems to be needed for things to make it work. And at this point of the time, I'll go ahead back to my documentation and try to see if this command runs. Again, this command, if you're referring to this beta documentation, has a space missing. Again, that's something which I found when testing today. But don't worry, as and when you actually get the final documentation, we'll make sure that this actually gets fixed. Okay, and .fps. Oh, yeah. So this is it. And as you can see, this is a pretty, I'm not even sure if it's a basic player. It just plays something. So it's all there. So the data has been captured, though, and though obviously this is not really the way you will want to view it, but it still works if you want to get to this trouble and make this work. And maybe you want to for some specific set of scenarios. So we'll just wait here. I tried to actually speed it up, but it didn't really work for me. Let me see if I can. Pause and see if I can go. Yeah, I will. It did start from there. Okay, so that's our recording for sure.
Brilliant. That's awesome.
Yeah. So these were the two main features, or I think something which any remote administrator within ZENworks will find really helpful. And again, even whatever the limitations you see in the remote recording feature, that's something which we'll be fixing it in the next set of release. Again, the team is already working on to fix those things. The third thing which we actually did, actually quite a asked for thing in the remote management, and unfortunately I don't have a demo for now, is that you can actually control a user who's logged into a remote RDP session. So that's something which was not really working before, and we found a way to fix this thing. And so if a user is logged into session which is through over the RDP, and if a remote ZENworks administrator wants to remote this particular machine, that didn't really used to work out, but now it can. So we have fixed that. Though care should be taken, it doesn't really still addresses the VDI environment where multiple user sessions are going on. So that's something which is still not going to work, and that's the thing which we are planning. We have taken up as a challenge, and we want to make sure maybe we'll fix it in next release or so, though I can't still confirm on it. So you'll see more things happening on that in the next release. But for this release, at least single user logged into an RDP session is something which we have managed to fix. So these three are the main key things in the ZENworks 2020 Update 2 on the remote management. But apart from that, there's some lots of under the hood changes on the remote viewer, on the terms of the performance and file transfer capabilities and so on and so forth. So this is something which I want to point out, that we understand that remote management was a bit of the laggard in terms of the technology stack or the changes, but in last, I think, two releases, so we have actually doubled down on the remote management. And since this is actually one of the most used things as most used feature by a ZENworks administrator, so we have actually doubled down on this one and have brought in these enhancements so we can actually get it to pass. So at this point of time, we believe that this remote management, what you have now as part of the update 2, should be able to meet your needs. So it is pretty fast. We have made sure that it doesn't really lag, even in a slower connection. The screen rates are all good and running. So we have done a lot of backend changes to improve upon things, and I'm hoping that you would actually see the difference as and when you actually go ahead and adopt update 2 and you'll really start liking the remote management. Okay, so these were the ideas on the remote management side. So I'll switch track and try to give you the things from the other side of the pond, say mobile device. So there are a couple of enhancements which we have done on the Android device management. That's something which I'd like to share today. So let me go back to my slide deck. So yeah, for this, I actually have a full-fledged slide deck. So what we have done is that we can enable the app assignments to the Android devices for whoever has been actually using the Android management capabilities in ZENworks would have straight away noticed that if you actually have an app which you have, let's say, purchased from the App Store and want to deploy it to a device, you can't really directly deploy to a device like that in a fashion similar to what you can do for, say, any other Windows or any other app to a Windows device. So you could have only deployed an Android app to a user. So that was a limitation. And when we actually started down the path of the Android enterprise, so that limitation was due to the fact that such a capability wasn't available at that point at the time. But over a period of time, it actually was available in the Android enterprise program, but we just couldn't really come around to pick it up, given the real importance of this particular use case where you just don't want to assign apps to a users, but you want to maybe do it based on the device. So that's why I thought, okay, let's have that and pick it up and have it available as part of the update 2. So what it does is that it brings this capability on par with iPad and iOS. So this on the Apple side of the things, yeah, it was always possible to assign an app to a device and a user. So there was no really great thing about that. What it also allows administrator to do is that, let's say, if a user is actually having two devices, and one of them is, say, enrolled by corporate mode and another of them is his personal device. So assume that he's using two devices. One is the managed device, which is fully managed device, which has maybe very restricted one. And another he's just using maybe for his personal use. Now, if you actually have an app and you wanted to have two different configurations depending upon that, okay, which device it would be, you could not have had that prior to update 2. But with update 2, it is not possible because now you can create two different app bundles with two different configurations and assign them to both of the different devices rather than just having one app being assigned to one user. So that solves this particular set of the use case. If you have a set of the apps which you just want to specifically target to a specific set of the devices, say maybe you have which will just work maybe only for the Samsung devices, or maybe it's an app which you just want to target only for Xiaomi or some Pixel devices or so on and so forth. So that is now just possible because now you can take an app and assign it to a device group in which you have all the specific criteria which you can make use of, and it's possible. And again, with the app assignment, device assignment, the capability to test an app on a specific device also comes in. So if you are unsure that whether the device app will work on a particular model of the device, that's now much easier to do rather than assigning it to a user and getting a particular that user assigned to enrolled against a particular device. So now you can straight away assign it to a device itself. So these are some of the advantages. So I'll just give you a quick demo of how this can work out. And it's not really, this is such a native feature of it. So in some respects, so let me go over here and don't just get misled by this checkbox. So I'm actually using a different environment. So this is the one which is hosted in a cloud. And so it's a spatial build which we are really running. And that's why you see the checkbox over here. But inside that, it's still the update tool. So what I have here is my device. And this is a device which I just logged in. And where is my assignments? And yeah. So as you see, right now, nothing is assigned onto this device. At this point, let me see if I can even get my device projected, just to make sure that we can definitely make sure that nothing is actually installed on my device. So I'm sure you guys will believe me. Okay, so that's my device. And Paul, I believe you can see my device, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Right. So there are 4 apps on this device. So this Contacts, Files, Play Store, and ZENworks, and that's it. Okay, so at this point of time, what we are going to do is we are going to go to the bundles, and that's Android Enterprise Bundle. And oh, sorry, I forgot. There's a different folder in which I reside here. Just this, and that's my bundle, and that's just a copy of the bundle which I've got. And I'm now going to, so this is Google Chrome. So as you saw there, you can see there's no Google Chrome on this device. And I'll go ahead. And if you see right now, the add button is enabled. It wasn't there earlier. Now it is. And I'll go and try to find my device where it resides. That's it. So that's my Pixel. And yeah, not that. So what it will do is it will automatically install the tab. Then I don't really need to search for it and make sure it comes in. Okay. Hmm. Just one at a time. Generally, I should refresh the device. So I'll just do a quick one. Open the ZENworks app. It refreshes. I'll give it a moment. It should appear here. If I go to my Play Store, no results found. It already came in. So you have that Chrome over here. So it just got assigned to this device.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So simple, but yeah, I'm sure that you'll find a lot of use cases for this particular enhancement. Okay. So moving on to the next one. That's a little bit, you may see it trivial, but yeah, it can be very effective in some use cases. So that now with update 2, it is possible to provision the system apps on an Android devices. So let's go back and understand even that what that actually means from the start. So if you see over here, I have this contacts app. Things are working in slow motion today. Decided to cut the connection. So let me start it again. Somehow my VPN still interferes with this one. Okay. Okay, so now we have this Contacts app, the Files app, the Play Store app, and the ZENworks app. So these are actually the apps with a launcher icon, and that's something which they came in by default. when a device enrolled. So these are essentially we treat them as system apps. I mean, essentially the contacts and the files in the Play Store. These are system apps, and they came in by default on when this profile, this work profile was created on the device. And depending upon the device model and the manufacturer, you will actually see a different set of the apps appear. So this is something which comes in. So now comes the point is that what if you don't really want certain set of the apps to appear over here? Let's say maybe I didn't really want it a files app to appear over here. Or conversely, what if I wanted another app to appear over here, which may not be available? So let's take a scenario where let's say you are using a Samsung phone, right? So as you all know that Samsung has its own store, and by default, let's say a Samsung camera may be available on the device. But let's say if it doesn't really gets provisioned as a part of your work profile, then how do you get that Samsung camera app onto this device? Because that app, by the virtue of it, that it is coming in from the Samsung store, it's not available on your Google Play Store. And we can only provision the apps which are available on the Google Play Store and not on the Samsung Play Store. So how do you get that app onto the profile? The good thing is that the app is actually present on the device. It's just that it is just not showing up on your work profile. So in that scenario, it may be feasible for you to specify that, hey, I want the Samsung camera app to be available on the device, and can I actually get a way to do that? And conversely, as I said before, you may want certain apps which you don't really want on the device, which are coming in by default. You just want to hide it because they may be distracting, or they may be a security risk, or can do something, so on and so forth. So it's up to you. So that's a kind of the capability, and that's what we have gotten as part of this, is that you can now provision system apps on the Android devices. So you can actually control what comes. Somehow I just turned off my
You're
mic.
back. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah. So that's the kind of the capability which we wanted to have, is that where you can control what these system apps appear on the devices. And one thing to note is that these system apps are generally the apps which actually have a launcher icon. So if I right now go into the inventory of my phone, it will show you tons of apps. And all of these are actually system apps, but not all of them have the launcher icon, right? They can't really be launched. So I can't really launch Android service library or all these 247 items system apps, which I actually see on my device, which are there as a part of the profile. But there may be some of these apps which have a launcher icon, and you may want to get them in, or you may want to hide in, or you may want to just, so the system apps provisioning helps you take control of that. So next question, how can you actually do that? So let's see. Again, it's just another bundle. So again, we'll go back to, okay, I'll take a shortcut here. I'll click on this code so I can go to this folder. And what I've done is that I've actually created a Pixel System Apps bundle. So this is a new type of the bundle, and let me show you also which type of this bundle is. Did work, right? Yeah. So it's a type of the Android bundle, and you go ahead and you find system apps, and there you go. Pixel dummy, I'll create. And now what you can do is that you can, if you have a package ID, so if you know really the com.package.name of that particular app, you can specify that. Or conversely, if you don't really have, what you can do is that you can even search from the ZENworks inventory app. So as you saw earlier, in ZENworks, there's an inventory data which we collect of all the system apps which are available as a part of the work profile on the devices. So that data is available. And if you're really looking for a certain app, you can do that. So if I really look for files app, I can search for it here. And there you go. So there are 3 files, 3 apps by this particular name, and I can choose to maybe install them. So you have multiple ways in which you can specify these apps or search for it. Or if I didn't really want to do that, maybe I just do it by Google, and yeah, it will give me quite a lot of options, because that's unfortunately this is the only device registered in this particular zone. So we don't really have more data outside of Google. But you see, there are quite many of them. So again, we have tried to make it easy for you to search for these apps. So you can do it by package name or so on and so forth, and create your own list of the apps, right? So at this time, we'll just go back to the already created bundle, which I've already created it. And the reason I'm going back is that, yeah, I didn't really wasn't sure this is actually the file name, right? So now here, what you can do is that you can actually specify the packages which you want to add. And this is a note which should be read very diligently, because what we are going to do is now, when we assign this particular bundle on the device, with the exception of the Google Play Store and the ZENworks Agent app, only the list of the apps which you specify over here. And here we are still talking about the system apps. We are not talking about the apps which you have provisioned outside, say the Google Chrome, nothing like that. So only these apps will be available on the device. The rest of the apps, let's say any system app, will go away. That's the first point. The second point is that once you actually assign this app, once you assign this bundle to the device, and say it started out with 4 apps, and let's say by default 4 apps were provisioned on the device, and after that you went ahead and assigned this bundle. So the app, let's say after that there were only 3 apps provisioned on the device. And if you think now, let's say, hey, let me go ahead and unassign this bundle and I'll get the 4 apps provision, that doesn't happen. So that's not really going to happen. So if you really want that 4th app to come in, you may actually want to come ahead over here and add that particular app entry onto the system app. And yes, it will happen. But so it's like a kind of a one-way street. So if you assign this bundle, you need to have this bundle assigned to it to make sure that these apps are available on the device. Okay, so at this point of time, I don't have any other app, so I'll go ahead and assign this again directly to my device. And if you see, so this is the files app over here. Okay, I'll go ahead and create this bundle and do a finish on it. And if you see over here, what's going to happen is, so I had these 4 apps. So ideally, since I've said only I want files app only, and the Play Store and the ZENworks will always be present. So that's not something which is going to get affected. So what should happen is that the contacts app should go away, because that wasn't specified as a part of the system apps. So what I'll do, I'll open up my ZENworks app and do a quick refresh just to make sure that we get the latest set of the data in. And by the time I go back, yeah, there you go. The contacts app is gone. So it's not really gone. And what we have just done ahead is that we have just gone ahead and hidden it. So it's just not accessible to the end user. So typically what you would want to do is that you would want to make sure test this thing, that come up with a configuration which you want enabled and put it on a test device, compare it on a test device. And once you have identified what kind of system apps you want, then you take that system app bundle and assign it across your zone. And as and when the device gets enrolled, they'll automatically get enrolled with, because this bundle will get assigned, it will be effective. And at the start, the end user will, from the start onwards, the end user will see only the apps which you actually want them to see. So that would be the normal way in which you want to go around. Obviously, you can, if you have already assigned devices and you want to control some things, you can do that. If you want to add some apps, system apps which are not in between or something, you can always go ahead and do that. But yeah, typically you'll want to do this thing at the time of the enrollment itself. So Yeah. So
Essentially,
that's your provisioning.
essentially
Yeah.
whitelisting and blacklisting for the work profile.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, only for the system apps.
Right, right.
So yeah, so these are the two major main enhancements which we got in as part of the on the Android side of the things. Um, yeah, and that's the demo. But as I said, right, so there are other things for which I don't have a demo, but I'll take quick minutes just to talk them through. So we have also got a support for the CentOS, and that's something which a lot of people have asked for. So with update 2, it is now possible to manage CentOS devices as a managed device. So please do note that it doesn't include the patch management, but apart from that, on the ZCM side of things, you can still manage. Obviously, it's very unfortunate that from the announcement which was made, I believe last year or something, the CentOS is no longer being actively developed and it's being switched to the CentOS streaming. But yeah, from what I heard, that there will still be many CentOS devices still out there in the field. So if you were looking a chance to manage them, so you can go ahead and manage those devices. We have also made some changes in the copy relationship workflow, and that is something actually more visible when you when you're in a larger zone. So what we have done is that uh, earlier, what used to happen is that, let's say, if you were copying relationships from a device to, say, another set of the device, and if there were some failures in between, so the whole thing will blow back. So if you were so that may not have actually impacted maybe some customers who may not really be doing that often, but there are quite a lot of our customers who do that across hundreds or thousands of devices, and they have bundles and the groups assigned, and they just want to copy that over from, say, one to another. And that's where if even one thing would have failed, then the whole operation would have failed, and it was just costing a lot of the time and the efforts to fix things. So actually what we did is that we actually provided continue on failure option. So now for such customers, if they choose to do so, we'll still try to continue on failure and we just won't stop the whole operation. And more importantly, we are now providing at the end of the operation a more accurate status of as to what actually went well and what didn't went well, and that kind of the and in a more grid-like format, and that's also exportable. So unfortunately, I don't even have right now with me a screenshot which I can share. But whoever is using, so they can go ahead and find these changes in. Lastly, what we have done is that we have made some changes to the Puppet policy. Um, so this is something which actually hasn't been working for quite some time. I think for 2 releases and so, I mean, it gradually broke, and I think the last release just completely broke. And the main culprit was that we were not able to update the Puppet itself on the device. So till ZENworks 2020 update 1, it used to ship with the Puppet itself, and which used to get installed as a part of the agent. And through the Puppet policy, which is available in the ZCC, you can actually go ahead and manage that part. But the Puppet which we were shipping was a little bit older version, and it could not really keep up pace with the newer versions which are there. And at our end, actually, we were finding it pretty hard to even build it and package it. So what we said is that since our policy, what essentially it does is that it actually goes ahead and sends a command back to a Puppet. So why don't we get out of the way and let the customers, so you guys can install your own preferred version of the Puppet, whatever you wish on the device. And since it's open source, so that is not really a problem. And we'll provide you the tools to manage it. So then it becomes more like another software that you actually have a software, and we are providing you the tools to manage the software rather than providing both the software and the tools. So from update 2, we are not no longer shipping the Puppet along with our Linux agent. And by the virtue of that fact, we have also made sure that the Puppet policy starts again working. So now the Puppet, if you have specified set of the commands, so you can specify that as a part of the Puppet policy, and the agent will actually dutifully pass those commands back to a Puppet which is installed, whichever version of the Puppet is installed on your devices, and it will do the needful. So seems like a small change, but yeah, it was a much needed one.
Puppet is back. Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is a set of the customer ideas which we have gotten with ZENworks 2020 update. I believe there may be some couple of more, some more smaller ones hidden here and there. So I just couldn't really get to and show them here, but
Sure.
you will see some changes here and there. And obviously, but this is just not the end of it. As Paul has been, I think, with so many sessions, Paul has been walking you through so many different things which have come in ZENworks 2020 update too. So we are really, really proud of this release, and we believe that it will really have some very great features which you'll find useful as you go along.
Yeah, we're excited for this particular release getting out there because it's like you said. There's the chat, and then recording and RDP, being able to do system apps on provisioning for Android. Just this whole list is great, and I know these are major changes, and there's minor also, but we're excited to see this release get out there and be used by the customers. It looks like they'll really take advantage of these, and they're requested, right? I mean, so the customers have been
Yeah,
voting on these, so that's what it's all about.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and I mean, I do get it, right? That sometimes we do get this feedback, right? That we are not really listening, but we are actually listening. And there are some of the bigger things which just need some more time to get them in. So they may not appear in one release, but we are working and we are listening to you. So for those of you who are there, right? So go ahead and make your request as a part of the customer idea exchange on the community website. So find an idea if you like, vote for it, or if you don't like, if you want something which is not listed there, go ahead and create an idea and just let people vote for it, and we'll definitely come out in the. It may not happen tomorrow, but please do understand that we do keep an eye over there, and we are constantly working on seeing okay how we get more and more of these things back to you in the product.
And if you have the idea as a customer, obviously somebody else is going to be thinking about it too. So that's the power of the voting and being able to be involved with that. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Are there any questions, Paul?
You answered them along the way. There were a few that came in, but you answered them as it went along. Raymond
Oh,
mentioned yes, system apps exclamation point. Happy with that. So you nailed it on that one, and he's really happy about that. You covered some of the questions like where the recording saved and that type of thing. So I think I don't see any other chat questions. If there are any, please put them in chat now, or we'll get back to you on if it's I'll be on the stream for 5 minutes after we close. But if you have any questions,
mhm.
please put them in and or send them to Zen at microfocus.com. Right? Um,
Cool.
they'll come through and then we'll see them there too. So yes, thank you so much, Vikram. I appreciate your time again, and
Not a
um,
problem, Paul.
these are great. And do we have a release date yet?
Uh, at this time, what's the date today? Maybe within somewhere on early July or so. That's where we are right now going to
Early
head
July?
for.
Okay,
Hmm.
that's awesome. Yeah, that'll be great. So we look forward to hearing more and seeing some of these in action as we put them into production. I'm sure the customers are excited about those, and we look forward to hearing more about it as new these features get enhanced in future versions. So thank you
Right.
again for your time.
Thank you for having me here, there, Paul.
You
Have a
have
great day.
you as well. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye. So good. Yeah, we are. That's pretty much the close for now. We are the update 2 will be a physical OS with an iOS install disk for the physical, and then the appliance side by side. So if you're doing the upgrade, you can expect that, and it'll be in the documentation. We're working on getting documentation for in the cookbook as well. Raymond mentioned, can you share something on the progress of adding Graph API and user source? Um, I'm we had a 30-second delay, and I excused Vikram too soon on that one, Raymond. I apologize for that. Um, can you send that email? Can you send an email to zen@microfocus.com, and Vikram will pick that up and give you an answer on that. I don't have the answer myself, um, but yeah, graph APIs. APIs are a big thing to be able to integrate and do additional things with the product. So that's a really good question. What I'll do is also check the Zen and make sure I get an answer from Vikram. So next recap, I can cover that question, which will be actually a month out because July 4th, July 6th, we're not ZenCasting. But we will respond to you right away, but we can also put that in the recap. So Raymond, thank you for that question. We'll get that over to Vikram and also email it to him just so that we have some paper trail on that. Otherwise, if there's any other questions, again, zen@microfocus.com. We'll be happy to answer those. We're coming up with the 6th, no stream. We're taking holiday. We'll have a couple other guests coming on for the next few ZenCasts. And we appreciate everybody being here and just being available to take your time up so you can see what's going on in the product. Most of all, I appreciate you guys for joining. Thank you for your time, and make sure you stay safe. We'll see you in a month this time, and look forward to talking about connected backup. Thank you very much, everybody that's responded, been in chat, and we're watching. And if you're watching the recording, please put comments down below and subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.